Okay, we are on. It is 7 o'clock, July 19th. Welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee, regularly scheduled Township Committee meeting. Recognize that we have a quorum of Township Committee members in attendance this evening. In person with us is Committeeman Hickey, Committeewoman Moreski, Committeeman Stevenson, and Committeewoman Fernandez are both out with excused absences this evening. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Sure. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News Somerville, Bernardsville News Whippany, and to all subscribers and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 7th, 2021.
Great, thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so as we've been starting our meetings off for what seems a very long time now, which is just reviewing the COVID numbers. So as of this afternoon, July 19, Bedminster has a total of 438 confirmed cases and we remain at 5 fatalities. Once again, these numbers have been from the beginning of the COVID crisis and represent the COVID cases that have been confirmed by laboratory testing. These numbers are certainly dropping off. I just looked at some notes from back in our second meeting in June, and we had 431 confirmed cases at that time. So we have 7 cases over the 1 month period. Certainly a tremendous slowdown from where we had been. And, that's frankly a reflection of COVID numbers dropping off generally, as well as the vaccination rates in Bedminster. So as far as the vaccination rates in Bedminster, this information is coming to us from the state website on the COVID vaccination dashboard. And as of today, for all ages in Bedminster, those with at least 1 dose, 69%, fully vaccinated, 63%. So that's all ages. 18 and over, 79% have at least 1 dose. Fully vaccinated, 72%. And then for residents 65 and over, 101% with at least 1 dose and 95% fully vaxxed. So we've talked about these numbers before. I would not take those numbers as gospel truth, but rather as a relative value as to where we stand. There's all sorts of disclaimers on the state vaccination dashboard, but frankly, their explanations for why you might see something over 100% don't necessarily seem appropriate for Bedminster. So I just want to, look at those numbers that more folks are getting vaccinated, but it is dropping off, and the vaccination rate is dropping off considerably. And, Colin, I know you've talked to the county health department about this. I don't know what I would call it. Maybe it's just characteristic of population characteristics and how they view vaccinations. But it appears that those folks who wanted vaccinations and could get access to vaccinations have done so. Getting that last, looking at this, if I'm just going to use general numbers, whether it's the last 20 to 25%, and not including 18 and younger, but the 18 and over range, right? So once again, at least 1 dose, 79% 18 and over for that population. Getting that 20%, let's say 25%, because we're going to put a little, cast some doubt on some of these numbers themselves. That's the hard part, right? So I know the county was offering right over here
Fairgrounds,
at
right?
the Far Hills Fairgrounds, right? So right next to Bedminster. I'm not sure how well attended that was, but I mean, we posted it immediately as soon as we got the notice, and we put it on the website, put it on social media, encouraging residents, if you were looking for the vaccine, it's right over here. Free, just show up. But the county is certainly trying to squeeze out or trying to get access to that last 20% or so. Once again, here in Bedminster, we're not going to force you to do it. We can't do so, but we do encourage it. And from folks that we all know, anecdotally, who've been exposed to folks who have had COVID and perhaps even recently the Delta variant, vaccinations work. So better than the alternative. Let's put it that way. This weekend, Essex Horse Trials. We had our own volunteer up here. So Renee was at the horse trials, and how was it been? You were there on
I was
Sunday?
there Sunday, yep.
Great. Well attended. I came
It was
late
well
on Sunday
attended.
afternoon.
It was well attended. It wasn't as big a day as Saturday, because it's the lower level classes, but still great horses, great riders, fun to watch. The vendors were there. Everybody had somebody there visiting them. There were a couple of food trucks, so it was a good day.
Right. And Colin, you and I were both there on Friday night for the orchestra for music in the Somerset Hills, and they had a special singer, a recent grad from Bernard's High. Is it Judith Leclerc?
I'm forgetting the name.
I'm forgetting the first name, but I know the last name was Leclerc.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just outstanding. Was getting a scholarship from Somerset Music in Somerset Hills. She'll be attending Carnegie Mellon, but her performance was fantastic. I'm sure we'll be hearing about her in the future. And I know this is going to come up later in the administrator's report, but the three of us and Robin were with Katie Dispenzieri. I should know how to pronounce that. With the grand opening of the little library at Knox Park. And Robin took some photos, and they're up on the Township website and also on Bedminster social media. So once again, thank you, Katie, for putting it all together. First presenting it to some Township committee members. You guys gave the endorsement, brought it back to the full committee, and it looks great. Thank you to John Nance and DPW for getting that up there.
It is full of books now.
It is.
It is
Oh, that's
full of
great.
books,
And you
yeah.
walk by it every day,
I do.
so that's great to see.
She put
And,
a few more decorations up on it, and it's adorable.
That's great.
Adorable.
So once again, thank you, Katie, for putting that all together. We will move on to public comments. This is the one opportunity for the meeting. If the public has any comments they want to make, there are two ways of our participants can join. One is by telephone. If you are participating in tonight's meeting, but well, actually, you can say three because we have someone in person here. So if you are participating by phone onto the Zoom call, dial *9. That'll put you into queue for public comment, and Ms. Ray will introduce you at the appropriate time. If you're participating on the Zoom call or the Zoom conference by computer, move your cursor down to the participants icon at the bottom of the screen. And when you click on participants, you can then click on raise hands, and that too will put you into queue for public comments. And if you were here in person, the microphone is right up there. And if you're ready to make a public comment, come on up to the microphone if anyone is ready.
So I'm not seeing any comments online, but Anya's here in support of the permit and raffles for the fireworks. later
Oh,
on,
okay.
just so you know.
Okay.
I'm
You
not
still
seeing
make a
any
public comment
comments.
if you like. Okay, seeing none. Let's move on to permits and raffles. So we have two permits and raffles for consideration. I'm sorry, both permits actually. The first one is a fireworks permit for a fireworks display scheduled for July 24, 2021 at 401 Fowler Road, Bedminster. And Ms. Ray, we have someone who's ready to discuss the fireworks display.
Sure, I had hoped that the Fire Commissioner Steve Dill would have been on, but I don't see him online. The application was sent to Steve Dill as well as Chief Brock. Chief, do you have anything you want to add?
No, originally when we received the permit, we were lacking a few documents, but the applicant did satisfy the request of Steve Dill, the fire official, as well as myself. Everything looks in order. The show looks to be about 8 to 10 minutes and is supposed to go off on the 24th, which is Saturday night at 9 o'clock. There will be law enforcement presence for the launching of the fireworks.
Chief, 401 Fowler, that's a private residence?
Correct.
Okay,
With plenty of land.
okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the fireworks permit?
The homeowner is here if you're interested. You have any questions?
Okay, I have none.
No, I'm good.
No.
No, good.
We have a motion to approve
Sounds
the
like dog
fireworks
just
permit
here.
for 401 Fowler Road.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy your fireworks. Next is social fair permit to benefit the Far Hills Country Day School on October 4, 2021 from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Hamilton Farms, 1040 Pottersville Road, Bedminster. Any questions or comments regarding the social affair permit? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Okay, we'll go straight into monthly report discussion by subcommittee chair. Renee, how would you like to start off tonight?
That would be wonderful.
Okay,
So I'll start with Environmental Commission. We met on July 7th and we began the meeting swearing in Tiffany Elliott as a new commissioner. She had been an alternate, and Debbie Taglieri as a new TC alternate. So we're very excited. We had a guest presenter at the meeting, Nancy Boney. She's a Long Meadow resident and an avid gardener who shared with us her support for the Green Amendment. Now, I don't know how to read these amendment things, but it's ACR 80 and SCR 30 that is currently going through the New Jersey legislature. She's asking the EC to review and support a resolution that supports the Green Amendment and for them to recommend that to the Township Committee that we pass such a resolution. I believe her goal is to have that amendment on a ballot to be passed by New Jersey voters. The EC was in favor of the idea of the amendment, but does not feel it goes far enough. The committee would like to include noise and light pollution in the wording of the legislation. Committee person Elliott has already been in touch with Maya Van Rossum, who is a lawyer and environmentalist who is the founder of the Green Amendment movement. She wants to get that added to the legislation. So we will be waiting for Tiffany to get information back from Maya, and the EC will discuss the merits of this resolution and forward its recommendations to Township Committee. Let's see. The only other thing I have for them is the lead testing was held July 10th at the farmer's market. Mara Tippett from Raritan Headwaters was there to discuss the importance of water quality in our watershed and in our faucets. I think she said they had 10 or 12 people come and
Oh,
do
that's
lead
good.
testing. So that was a nice turnout, and we do that almost every year. So I'm sure we'll do that again next year. Let's see, some little bit of information on my marijuana mental health survey. I did receive from the Hillsborough Township the survey that they did on the during the pandemic to check in with their staff on the mental and emotional health of the staff. I think it's a useful tool. I just got it today. I think it's a useful tool for us to use to make sure that our staff has the resources it needs to stay happy and healthy in their work environment. I'll be talking with the Township Committee and the Rec Committee, I think, to develop programs for our staff and our residents. It's a fairly lengthy survey, lots of different kinds of questions, but it's really interesting, and I think it'd be important for our staff. And that's all I have today.
okay, thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Just quick update on the Board of Health. We did have one septic application reviewed at last Thursday meeting that was reviewed and approved. In addition, and Mayor, this dovetails with some of the conversation we led the meeting up with, Deputy Director Nogales from the County Health Department indicated that the pop-up vaccination clinics are continuing, but there has been a precipitous fall off in vaccination rates following the initial J&J halt. The national marketing campaign to get vaccinated is being countered by concerns over the J&J vaccine, where, as we've all read, there are a small number of individuals who have suffered some serious adverse effects. What Director Nargalis wanted to do was emphasize the percentages. Most recently there was a report of about 100 people who had developed an immune disorder after taking the J&J vaccine. But as he mentioned, he said you have to look at that against the entire universe of 13 million people who have received that vaccination. The numbers get very small when you look at the number of adverse effects, but still that's impacting the willingness to take the vaccine. The county itself has administered 50,000 doses to date, the majority being Moderna as a predominant vaccine, with the second being J&J, but it's a distant second. We now have anecdotal reports that people are showing up at the clinics only to hear that they have J&J and turning away and refusing the vaccinations, which is unfortunate. So clearly more work remains to be done. As the mayor mentioned before, getting to that last 20 or 25% is really difficult. There's a lot of folks who will not take the vaccine, and the remainder, say the 5 to 10% who will, it will probably take now through the end of the year to actually accomplish that. So there's much work that needs to be done.
Colin, do you think they have any kind of numbers for people? Dog and pony show of one. My father is very ill health. He's very fragile, and the doctor doesn't want to give him the vaccine yet. He will eventually, but he says you will have. We don't know what the side effects are going to be for you. He could, stub his toe and he winds up in the hospital. So they're just not going to do that yet. My mom is concerned for the same reason. But they're looking to get it. They just want to wait a little bit. Do we have any idea of how many people we have in our area that might be in that situation?
Only anecdotally. It's a great question, though, and I know Dr. Agatha's mentioned this last time, our last Board of Health meeting, which is you're now getting to the point where those people who are maybe vaccine resistant or have questions about it want to go to a trusted authority. They want to go to a family health, practitioner and, have a conversation instead of going to a clinic voluntarily. So that's why, again, it's going to be a slow uptake of the remaining, say, 20% who may consider it, may or may not get it. But in terms of hard numbers, no, unfortunately not.
Yeah, I would imagine that particularly with the younger kids, so the 18 and younger, the vaccine originally wasn't even offered to them.
Right.
So, but as it is being approved, we're working through the emergency approval process rather than the full approval process for the younger residents, younger citizens. And as we get closer to the start of school, maybe even college, we may see those 18 and younger numbers start going up, which will push the overall numbers up a bit. I would imagine that's the case. I'm not sure if there's any, talk about anecdotal information, anything maybe even from Camp Bedminster or from some of the other camps, because I know that some of them still have mask mandates in place when they're indoors. So maybe we'll see something change as we get closer to September. And also just, again, folks may feel more comfortable talking to the pediatrician and getting the dosage for their kids rather than going to CVS or some other equivalent, or even the county programs may feel better talking to Dr. Agatha.
Right, exactly. Other than that, Mayor, I know we have farmers market and library come up this week, and that's all I have.
Okay, so I'll go real quick. I'll start with land use board, and at our land use board, we were able to welcome in person our new land use board member, Stephen First, who is an attorney, resides in Bedminster, obviously, and has been very active, certainly in the county, and was on the County Parks Commission for a number of years and was involved in a number of projects, both at the county and his private practice that greatly influence what we have here in Somerset County. So Steve is a great addition to the land use board, and we welcome him with open arms. And at the last land use board session, we actually had sort of a return of the county planning consultants who we've been working with on alternatives for the AT&T site here in Bedminster. So I've heard this from me, you've heard from Colin, heard from Steve Parker. Our preference is that AT&T stays in the Bedminster campus and that AT&T actually grows and expands their presence there. They are an employment center for Bedminster and our largest rateable. So we'd like to see that property active and in good use. However, AT&T had rumblings about whether they were going to stay prior to COVID. And COVID may change their view of giant office buildings with thousands of people in them. So the entire purpose of this study is to give some zoning recommendations to encourage the growth and use of that property. So certainly to keep it Bedminster's #1 rateable property and to continue it as an employment center for Bedminster residents and for residents of Somerset County. So at this last presentation, the planning consultants took some ideas that had been bounced around in the at their prior show with the land use board and came back with some additional details and just wanted to bounce some more ideas off the land use board. And it was a very good meeting, very active, lots of questions and asked by the board members, and our consultants had answers at the ready. And that wraps up essentially the informal presentation of the planning study. So the consultants are going to go back. They're going to prepare a much more formal presentation, and they will have a PowerPoint and a full-blown presentation for both the land use board and the township committee for September 9, which is a Thursday. So that's the regularly scheduled land use board meeting date. And I've asked Janine and Robin to identify that as a special joint session of both the Township Committee and the Land Use Board. We'll be their guest, but since you and I are on the Land Use Board, we can, we'll have seats over there in the corner. We'll get the full presentation from the planning team as they've wrapped up all the discussions with AT&T, with MetLife, the property owner, and various industry experts, as well as other stakeholders regarding the property. And forward to hearing what they're going to say and what zoning recommendations they're going to put forth. I've extended that same offer to attend to representatives from MetLife and AT&T who've been involved with us throughout the entire process, but I want to make sure that that they reserve that date, September 9th. So we'll see you then. We do have another land use board meeting coming up the first week in August. I think we have at least one residential application on that night. And let's see, that's it from land use board. We've, as Colin, you said, we have the library meeting coming up, and we have the farmers market meeting coming up as well. That's tomorrow. And farmers market, it was hot Saturday. It was very hot Saturday. It was hot out in the parking lot. It was hot out at the table. It was hot during setup.
Yes.
But even with the heat and even with the threat of rain that had been forecast, although it didn't rain on Saturday at the market, because of certain deals, the rain agreed to hold off till after the market was over. Colin, what was our final number for Saturday?
Still got 772,
Whoa.
which is just a little shy of our average, which is between 800 and 825 on a given weekend. And remember, we also had the horse trials competing,
Right.
so I think all in all, big success.
And even as we were wrapping up, there were like 2 or 3 cars that were coming in, still thinking that it goes past 1 o'clock. But that was good to see that people were coming out there, and it was interesting. People obviously were paying attention to the weather because there was a big rush, probably from 8:45, really before we officially opened at 9, until about 10:30. So folks were coming out early to beat the heat.
Didn't someone come at 8:30?
Yes.
Not that I want to spread that out there, but
Yep. So that was great to see. Always good to see folks out there. And I think we're supposed to get better weather this weekend, sunny and not as hot and not as humid, hopefully. And that's what I have from my subcommittee. Ms. Ray, may we please have the administrator's report?
Sure. Just some good news. Back in April, we contracted with Somerset County Transportation for the shopping day in lieu of our senior van service. Just wanted to, I keep track of, where we're at. We're averaging 6 riders. We actually have 6 riders every week on Wednesday, which is more than we had consistently in the past. So every Wednesday for the last 6 weeks, there's been 6 riders, which is great.
That's right. And they're going up to.
They go up to Chester Shopping Mall, Chester Springs
That's
Shopping
great.
Mall. So, outside of all the fees that are associated with that service that were provided last year, we're now saving ourselves $495 a month.
And
That's right. And providing a great service.
And a better service, and
Correct.
more people are actually taking advantage of it. That's great.
Correct. So that was good news. Human resources update. As of this evening, we'll be appointing a new part-time sewer operator. And that rounds out the last of our 7 positions that we had open, which is terrific. But then we start again at the July 6th Township Committee meeting. DPW Manager John Mance announced his retirement as of November 1st. So we are in the process of updating the current job description, which hasn't been done in quite some time, and preparing to advertise the position.
And then we had discussed that we'll work with John and to put that job description together, and to the extent John wants to participate, certainly encourage John to be involved in those interviews and selecting someone for recommendation to be his replacement. So it's good to, we've got John for a few more months, whole lot of history and experience wrapped up there. So let's take advantage of all of it. And I'm sure that John wants to leave Bedminster in good hands. So we look forward to working with John as that posting is put together and the interviews commence.
Okay. And as you had mentioned, Mayor, the Little Library, Public Works installed the Little Library, which was actually donated by Katie Dispensier. I went in last Thursday morning, and yourself and Committeewoman Moreski and Committeeman Hickey were there for the unveiling. It's an adorable little library in a nice little spot at Knox Avenue Park. The lower level is children's books, and the upper level is young adults. So I think it'll be very well received. The information about the Little Library program will be posted on the Township's website as well as social media, so everybody knows. Tax collector, tax assessor, we have a couple things going on there. The tax collector is still waiting on the county tax board to certify our tax rate so that we can send out tax bills. And I know the residents are very anxious to get the tax bills. We've had a lot of phone calls. We have an alert posted on our township website, as well as when you call the offices. As far as the tax assessor goes, Bedminster Township has contracted with Appraisal Systems Incorporated to assist with this year's annual property assessment inspections. That actually field inspectors started last Friday, going out to some of the neighborhoods in the hills. We have a list of the different streets and neighborhoods they will be visiting in order. The inspectors are wearing IDs, and they are using their own personal vehicles. All their information has been distributed to the police department as well as administration here, so we know who they are as they're going through the neighborhoods, just in case there's any questions. We did distribute this out via social media, our website, through our normal channels, the School Friday folder, the library patrons, as well as to all the management companies and master associations in the Hills. So we've been getting a lot of feedback that people are trying to reschedule because they're going on vacation. They're very conscious, which has been great. And the last is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. As you know, the federal government signed into law back on March 11th, the American Rescue Plan, which provides COVID pandemic response recovery funding to the different states. From the state level, it's actually called the Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, which provides funding to all the municipalities and counties over a 2-year period. So we actually did receive our first check. There is some preliminary guidance as to how those funds can be actually used. It's very specific. It includes lost public sector revenue, investing in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, among others. So now our job is to really, pare down this information and determine what direction we are going to go in. We're not expected to receive detailed guidance from the state until late August. So.
And the state in turn is really, they're just rolling out guidance that they're getting from the federal program.
Correct.
When this first came out, Congressman Malinowski held a Q&A with the mayors in the district, and it was essentially the same information we were getting off the government website. And we did have some follow-up questions, and the congressman's office was going to get back, and they came back and there was no further guidance. So even now, as the money's being distributed and the state is essentially giving us the same guidance that we heard from the very beginning, it's not terrific guidance. And it sort of boxes a lot of municipalities in, because looking at these purposes that are delineated, some of them may not apply, or a lot of them may not apply to what we have here in our situation.
So,
But you were working with Deb,
And the
our
auditors last
CFO, and the
week.
auditors to
Yeah.
see what our opportunities are.
Right, so right now we were told by Bud Jones that right now it's in a comment period. This local relief fund is in a comment period. So all those comments are being generated from all the different groups, and we should be getting further guidance in August, but definitely by September. So it's a little like cannabis. They can give you have to opt in or opt out, and then you wait for the guidance. We got the check and now we're waiting for the guidance.
Right. So the
Very
only difference
similar.
is here, you can have the check, but you can't spend it on anything.
Right.
And if you spend it on something you're not allowed
They
to,
can
that
take
money
away.
comes right back.
Correct.
So we put it in a good bank account so we can generate some interest.
But we're putting it as a receivable, as a grant receivable at this
I'm
point.
kidding.
And then just, I'm sorry, and
And
is
that
that's
concludes
it?
my report.
Okay, great. Discussion on introduced ordinances. We don't have any. Introduction of ordinances, we don't have any, but we do have 3 ordinances for public hearing. And the first ordinance is ordinance number 2021-012, an ordinance right here. An ordinance amending section 3-6.3 entitled Park and Recreation Area Rules, and creating section 3-20 entitled Prohibition on the Public Consumption of Cannabis and Marijuana. So that's a new section of chapter 3 entitled Police Regulations of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Bedminster. And this ordinance creates the township's regulations prohibiting the public consumption of cannabis and marijuana in the township. Now, before we open up the public hearing, there's a couple things I want to talk about. This, the ordinance is that while it's identified as creating the township's regulations prohibiting the public consumption of cannabis and marijuana, what this ordinance does, and this went through, we had an original introduction of it. A lot of us had comments and questions back to John, and So John gave us another version, then I had some comments and some offline discussions with John about, narrowly crafting the ordinance, and then having also had discussions with Chief Rock to make sure that whatever we did on introducing an ordinance regarding public consumption of marijuana in our public parks and recreation facilities, but also in our public spaces, right? So the public spaces being defined as areas where the general public is invited to. So that includes shopping centers, parking lots of shopping centers, stores, John, restaurants would
Yes,
would
public
fall into
place.
that as a public space, right? So these can be businesses that are open to the public. There may be businesses that are not open to the public, and that may not be covered under this ordinance. The ordinance prohibits the public smoking, vaping, or other aerosolizing of marijuana products. So once again, in the public parks, in the recreation facilities, in the public spaces. It is specific to smoking, vaping, and aerosolizing. Just as we have similar prohibitions for smoking cigarettes. The reason I make that distinction is that it does not cover edible consumption. It certainly doesn't cover anything you may be doing in your private residence or in an area that is not open to the public. So if someone is on medical marijuana, right, and they are consuming it through edibles or other means, that is not covered by this prohibition. And we had a few conversations with the chief. We wanted to make sure that whatever we came out with was going to be enforceable and not put the police in a situation where they have to, check out gummies or brownies or anything else that's out there. We don't want to put our police in an untenable position. So there is some specific drafting to this ordinance, and John, I want to thank you for working with me and taking all the other comments and questions that are out there. I certainly want to make it clear that we're focused on the impact to our residents who don't want to be near the secondhand smoke, whether that smoke is from smoking of marijuana cigarettes or from vaping, or as we said before, using the term of art that Melissa gave us and Fuad gave us, aerosolizing. This is not in any way a moral stance on consumption of marijuana products. There was a referendum offered to the voters of New Jersey, and the results were overwhelmingly in favor of the legal consumption of marijuana. So we are not offering a moral stance from Bedminster in this ordinance. We are saying can't do it in public spaces. You can't smoke or vape or otherwise aerosolize in the public spaces. If you do elsewhere, that's okay. And if you can consume it in a way that is not offensive, right, and smoking to others, that's not subject of this prohibition. Chief, do you have anything you want to add regarding the ordinance?
No, Mayor, but I could just state, from the first reading and the first discussions, I think this goes a long way for a common sense approach to a problem, to a situation that was voted in, and everybody's trying to maneuver through the course. But I think it's, once again, a common sense approach that the police department feels that we can have the tools when we have to enforce it.
Okay, so before we proceed, I'll take a motion to open up the public hearing for ordinance number 2021-012.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so while we've got the chief, we've got John Bellardo who drafted the ordinance. Any questions or comments from Township Committee?
Mayor, just to reiterate, it's entirely consistent with what is drafted here with the Board of Health, which went through significant deliberation and reached the same conclusion that they wanted to, or they recommended prohibiting smoking, vaping, or aerosolizing of both recreational and medical marijuana in public parks, school recreation center, or other places in town where smoking may be prohibited. So this is entirely consistent with their recommendations. They also went out of their way to say nothing that we contemplate should ever get in between a doctor and a patient. And I think this is entirely consistent with that approach. So I think this is good work and it comes up where the board, our own Board of Health came out on the same issue.
Great, thank you. Renee?
I don't have anything. We asked a bunch of our committees for their opinions on this situation, and most of them thought that it was a good approach that we were taking with being very conservative about letting the licenses go through. But most people, if they had a problem, it was going to be with secondhand smoke. And they were concerned about our parks and the kids. And I think this addresses all of those issues.
Right, and also on the condominium issues, while it's not certainly the subject of this ordinance, right? Because in that case, it's not a public space because it's private property that's owned in condominium form. The condominiums been encouraged. Renee, I know, you took this up to speak with the various master associations to say, look, don't come to the town. We do not enforce your condominium rules. You guys need and should consult with your attorneys, consult with your residents.
Here's the information we have,
Yeah.
but you guys take the ball and run with it.
Great. So with that, we'll open up the public hearing for public comment. So if any member of the public has a comment regarding ordinance 2021-012, once again, if you are participating on Zoom with your phone, press *9. If you are participating from your laptop or your computer, scroll down to the bottom of the page, click on participants. When you get the opportunity to click on raise hand, do so, and Ms. Ray will put you in queue for public comment.
I'm not seeing any hand, Mayor. No public comments.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
May we have motion to approve ordinance number 2021-012?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
and Mr. Amir Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, John. Thank you to Fuad and Melissa. And thank you, Chief, for working with us in putting forth a common sense approach to this ordinance. The next public hearing is an ordinance 2021-013, appropriating $31,900 for various equipment for the Bedminster Township Police Department. May we have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2021-013?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Chief Rock,
Mayor,
$31,900 for various equipment.
yes, Mayor, this comes from our budget discussions and my capital plan. And the police department obviously is going to utilize this funding for at least 3 to 4 new mobile data terminals. And those are the computers that we have in our rolling stock, the patrol cars. They are also to supplement grant monies that we do receive for replacement of bulletproof vests, which have a 5-year lifespan. So we get some funding towards that, and the additional monies will, make us whole when it comes to giving our officers new body protection. And majority of the money is going to purchase new equipment for the new patrol car that we will order to put in a fleet. So anytime a manufacturer switches a body style, well, everything in the police car needs to be changed and everything needs to be new, from the cages to all the, where the computer goes in, to where the radios mount to brackets and the wiring and the lighting. So it's a pretty big undertaking when, they switch the models of, the body style of a current patrol vehicle. So that's that $31,900, that is what is earmarked for.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the chief from Township Committee?
Just want those guys to be safe out there. Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, we will open up ordinance 2021-013 for public comment. Same as before, participating by phone, *9. If you're participating from your computer, scroll down to the bottom. Participants, raise hand, click raise hand. You'll be identified for public comment.
I have not seen any comments, Mayor.
Seeing none, may we have a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2021-013?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
May we have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-013?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and our third ordinance on for tonight is ordinance number 2021-014. An ordinance amending chapter 13 entitled Land Management of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Bedminster 1984 as heretofore supplemented and amended. This ordinance amends chapter 13 amends section 13-303 entitled Zoning Map of Article 13-300 entitled Zoning Districts and Zoning Map of Chapter 13 entitled Land Development of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Bedminster 1984. Okay, so long title for an ordinance that brings in the most recent version of our zoning map. So putting it up on the screen right now. You can't see it from there. It is on the website. I don't know, Robin, if you have a few seconds, we can pull it up on the screen.
I can't pull up anything
Oh, you
on
can't?
here. I have to do it from
Okay.
another laptop.
Well-
This operates Zoom. I'm sorry.
So it is up on the township website. So this is essentially updating our zoning map. There's been some zoning changes over the last several years. And this would just include the updated zoning map into our land use ordinance. Any questions or comments regarding it? And you can certainly.
Planning board reported on it.
Yes,
Yes, they did.
yes, they did.
We did
It was
receive the
presented
letter
at the
from
planning board. And they determined that adopting the zoning map would not be inconsistent with the master plan.
Thank you.
Just a little typo supplemented in the title, and just fix the spelling.
Sure.
Yes, the grammar producer out.
Let's see, Nick Strackoff misses one meeting and all of a sudden. Okay, so if there's no questions or comments from Township Committee, we'll open up to the public for questions regarding ordinance 2021-014 and the zoning map. And once again, if you're participating by phone, *9, participating from your computer, scroll down to the bottom, click participants, click raise hand.
We have to back up a step. You still have to open the hearing.
Oh, we didn't open up the hearing? We did?
I don't think we did.
You don't think we did?
Yes. I don't think we did.
Okay.
We did one thing.
May we have a motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2021-014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, any questions or comments regarding? No, if not, let's go to public comment.
I have not seen any public comment, Mayor.
No comments from the public. May we have a motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2021-014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
May we have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-014?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a roll call vote, please. Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have 5 items, 5 resolutions on the consent agenda. These are resolutions of a routine nature. If any member of the Township Committee wants to pull them off for specific discussion, certainly we can do so. Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no resolutions other than those on the consent agenda. May we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices?
So. Good. So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. New business. Any Township Committee member have an item for discussion for new business? We will probably have some new business at our next meeting, but that's subject to some discussions I'm going to be having with the county administrator later this week. So let's go to old business. COVID-19, we've already covered the COVID updates. DOT improvements. So this is the River Road, Jug Handle, and the Hills Drive intersection. I am still waiting on dates from DOT as to when the improvements are going to be made. We'll continue to follow up with DOT on a regular basis. It seems to have transitioned from design, which has they finalized the design for those improvements. Now it goes to implementation. And our contacts at DOT said, keep following up with us because we don't know when they'll get to us. But, you know, I think as we've all come to realize, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So we continue to follow up with DOT on a regular basis to see if we can't push that forward. Once again, you know, we're out there, you know, Renee and Colin and I are out there setting up for the farmers market on Saturday mornings. We all drive by these roads and you hear the car screeching. You know, Chief can certainly, you know, give us traffic details of accidents, as well as people ignoring the signs, making illegal turns where they're not supposed to make illegal turns. That's why they're called illegal turns. And these improvements will help ameliorate the situation. They may not get rid of some of the bad behavior, but certainly make it a lot easier and a lot harder to ignore the signs.
But even just the changing of the timing on the
Right.
lights seems to have stopped some of the
Oh,
squeaking wheels in the morning when people
Absolutely.
are crossing River Road or not crossing River Road. So
Right.
if that's a sign of what this is going to do, the next step, that's exciting.
Right. I think these are great improvements. DOT agreed with us when we had the presentation. It's not costing us anything. And they certainly acknowledge that there's room for improvement. And so they're completely on board. It's just a matter of getting the work done. So we'll continue to follow up with that. Utilities, old business, but always Always a subject.
There's always issues. I'll start with JCP&L. As folks are aware, there were 2 major outages impacting portions of the lower hills on July 6th and July 8th. Each outage impacted about 644 customers. In both cases, it was a greater crossroad circuit, which serves many homes along Hills Drive. Weather was the cause in both cases. I believe in the first one, it was a down tree on a transmission line. In the case of the second, it was actually a lightning strike at the substation itself that took the power down. Interestingly enough, I was on the phone with Committee Woman Moreski when the power went down the second time, and she said, my lights are out. So I immediately got on the phone with our municipal liaison at JCP&L, Carol Bianchi, to get the situation resolved. One thing for our residents to note is that repairs can only be initiated once the storm subsides. The storm may have passed in your neighborhood, but it may still be going on where the fault occurred. So for obvious safety reasons, JCP&L can't send up crews into the bucket trucks and up on the wires until the storm is cleared, and obviously not during a thunder and lightning storm. That being said, the Greater Crossroads Circuit appears to be our latest canary in the coal mine. As you may recall, a few years ago, we had similar problems with the circuit serving the neighborhoods along Robertson Road, and we pushed for action. JCP&L replaced cabling, updated transformers, installed switching equipment, moved the line, moved telephone poles, and as a result, that circuit went from worst to first. So now we'll aim for the same objective here. I've asked Carol to pull stats and have an engineering study done on the Greater Crossroads Circuit so we can understand root causes, if any, and what steps can be taken to either eliminate the outages or reduce them significantly, because obviously we've seen too many outages, particularly since Tropical Storm Isaias. We will also invite Carol, who understands is on vacation this week, but we'll invite her to come to one of our upcoming township committee meetings so that she can give us an update on those modifications and address any questions the public may have. So more to follow.
Great. So I know we talked about inviting Carol back to Township Committee for a public meeting. Are we looking, I know she's on vacation.
Yes,
So are we looking for August, September to hold that?
I'd either like to do it the second meeting in August or the first meeting in September, because I
Okay.
know she's out this meeting and the next meeting.
Okay,
So I'll coordinate schedule with her to make sure she's available.
okay, great.
Do have an update on OLTs. We continue to receive additional complaints about constant disconnects and slow speeds in the Wood Duck Pond and Four Oaks neighborhoods. They have been coming in over the last several months. Matter of fact, I got a complaint last week at the farmer's market. So we said, hey, can you help me out here? As I previously mentioned, we've escalated that issue, and the Altice network engineering team had been investigating. I'm pleased to report that Altice is now pursuing a node split in that immediate vicinity. Construction is scheduled to complete either at the end of July or the first week in August. Hopefully that will grant our residents some needed relief in that area.
So Colin, I know we talked about this multiple times.
Yes.
So we know what a node split is, but for the record, can you just explain what a node split is, how it works, how it whacks up the population that is served by one line and spreads it out?
Well, you said it, exactly.
Okay.
So they're typically on a node between,
It's called the leading question.
the leading question, thank you, Counselor. There's on a cable node, typically 300, 400, maybe 500 homes are served out of a single node. So when you are on the internet, it's going to that node to access resources on the World Wide Web. Excuse me. When that node becomes overloaded, you're competing with all the other customers, and your traffic is slowed down because there's too many people on that node, so it becomes overloaded. So Altice's objective is to take that node and split it in two. So only half as many homes are being served by that same node. So they've done that in areas throughout the hills. I think they've split at least 5 nodes already. When they see traffic congestion, when they see network contention, they split the node, divide it in two, so only half the homes will be served by that node. So people should see increased throughput and higher speeds and less disconnects. Disconnects happen because you're all competing for the same resource, and the node says, I don't know what to do, and it drops the traffic. So now, hopefully those disconnects will be less. And we know we've got a lot of complaints from residents because obviously they're working from home, they're trying to have conference calls, they're trying to be on Zoom. Well, that's a lot of demand on that node, and that's why the nodes are failing and need to be split. So we will continue to pursue with Altice. Every time we hear where customers are having issues, we'll get on our case, and hopefully they will continue to do the engineering. And frankly, in defense of them, they have been hearing our complaints and have been aggressively pursuing construction schedules to address these concerns, and we'll stay on top of it.
Great.
All right. One more update.
One more update.
One more. New Jersey American Water, I just want to let you know, will be subbing into more equipment in Stevenson during an initial construction meeting between our DPW and New Jersey American Water in connection with a water main repair that's impacting Ski Hill Drive and the surrounding area. Those repairs will necessitate, among other things, the construction of a temporary above ground line, as well as relining of the feet between Ski Hill Drive, Berkshire Court, and Old Stonehouse Drive. So more to follow on that one once we get some more details.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other item on old business is Pluckman Park Housing, which I know Committeeman Stevenson and I had discussions. There was some interest in by a affordable housing company that was looking at Pluckman Park. That interest appears to have waned. So we will just keep this on old business for now. And hopefully, there may be some movement, because we certainly know that the owners had some interest in selling it. But, put folks together, but we can't necessarily make a deal ourselves. So if it can't be done, it can't be done. Township committee comments. We do not have an executive session. So after township committee comments, we will be adjourning.
So I've got 2 hours to talk.
Yes.
You might cut you off at the first minute.
It might be one of those notes that just sort of, gets overwhelmed. Renee, if you want to start, since you volunteered.
Sure. The only thing I really wanted to say was that in walking my lovely dog the other day and speaking with one of the Village Green residents over by where the fire was, I was pleased to see that there was nothing there but 2x4s. So they have pulled down all the junk, the big plastic bags full of crap is gone, and it is down to the studs. So hopefully they'll be able to start to really finish off those units, although I did hear that they're anticipating not being done till Christmas, but that just cannot be right. But I'm sure we'll be in touch with them in the meantime, but all the junk is down.
So, I should have mentioned this earlier in one of these other pages. I did have a number of discussions with the construction permitting office here in Town Hall. All the permits have been issued by Bedminster. So the contractors are not waiting on Bedminster for any of those permits. They've been issued.
Good.
So our staff has done a fantastic job of turning these applications around. When there was deficient information, there were calls made immediately, and it was back to the contractors and their architects or their engineers to get that information back to us. But as soon as that information came back in, processed, and went right back out again. So all the permits have been issued. That includes the demo permits as well as the construction permits. So I've also asked our guys to stay on top of that, and we want to make sure that those units are back and occupiable as soon as they can be. So look, now it's sort of in the hands of the insurance company and the contractors to move things along. I'm sure that to some extent the contractors want to get in and get out. In the meantime, the affordable housing consultancy GP&H has been coordinating. I think there's at least one person whose insurance may be running out on temporary housing.
Mm-hmm.
And so CGP&H, with direction from the Township Committee, is working with that resident who does qualify, who is income qualified for affordable housing, to get some funds available for them so that they can find temporary housing while they remain displaced.
Mhm.
So,
And we would encourage anybody that needs the help to reach out to
Absolutely.
town, and we'll see what we can do.
Right. So here we are in very hot days of July, and I remember going out there that very cold February morning.
Well, hopefully
So
it won't last
Christmas,
into the,
hopefully Christmas is not the
Yeah.
is not that end date. I do know that there's at least 7 units are back being occupied.
that's good.
So it's another 9 more to get those complete. I'm sorry. Anything else on for committee comments?
Thank you.
Committeeman Hicks?
No comments. Thank you, Mayor.
And no comments from me. Thank you all for once again, and thank you, Chief, for working with John Bellardo and I and Committeeman Stevenson and putting the final touches on that ordinance.
What a long, strange trip.
You've been waiting all night for that one.
Well played, John.
Well done. All right, seeing no other comments, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it is 8:05. Good night.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.
You.
Bye, chief.
Good night. Have a good night.
Hi, chief.
Thank you.